Here's where I know I need to fire somebody. When someone says, that's not my job description. It's cool, get out. Because we're about growing the company. So the idea is, if you see something that should be done and no one's doing it, take the initiative and just do it. I like to explain like a 7 out of 10. So if anything that sucks 7 out of 10, like 10's like amazing, and 1's the worst, like super painful. When we're at like a 7, it sucks, but it doesn't suck enough to do anything about it yet. So typically most people tolerate a 7 out of 10 life across the board. You're busy or productive, there's a huge difference in that. Like, anyone can just get busy being reactive to crap that just gets thrown at you every day, or you're being productive, you're actually chipping away at things that are meaningful and important. It's not about how much time you actually give, it's like what you actually do in the time you have.
It's all about like the quality of the work, not how much you actually end up working.
How did you make that change then in the early days of when you were, building things out, and you obviously recognized did you recognize your weakness in management?
I try to convince some people out of having a business, because like you have where it's miserable is entrepreneurs trying to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to be a business. I'm like, bro, like maybe it's not for you. Like Tim Cook made what? $70 million last year or something like that. CEO, if he didn't start shit.
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. It's like, you don't have to be.
I couldn't agree. We talk all the time about
so
like
it's good though.
The videographer, the photographer that loves their craft, and they think, oh, if I start this business, I could just do this all the time. It's like, no, you'll do that like 20% of the time.
Especially in your industry, it definitely takes like to be a creator, you have to be entrepreneur blood. Yeah. Otherwise, like you can't start a business in some sort of creative just because you like it. Because what I've found is anyone who tries to do that in the creative space, they're just the shittest to work with. Because it's like they'll come film with you, then they ghost you for a month while they're doing other clients, and then it's like they just can't manage. You know what I mean? They can't manage. They can't So yeah,
they've got that like artistic side of things as well.
Yeah.
They sort of want to bring to it rather than like understanding the reality of like, hey, I need this. I need this video next week. I can't. You can't work on this for a month because you want to like get it perfect.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic being a creative, because you're running your own business, but you're also got to do all those other side of the brain tasks of manage your time properly and all these other things that it naturally just goes against who you are as a creative.
Yeah, it's a totally different personality trait. There's like management styles and there's creative styles. Like creative styles, people they need time to they need time to have nothing on their diary. It's like they're my favorite days. I'm more creative, but I'll have like Mondays and Tuesdays for me are very management days where it's like meetings and all this shit. And then usually I hate them. I don't hate them, but they're not I'm like, yay. But then once I get them out of the way, the rest of my week is like, fuck yeah, nothing on my calendar. I like to just work on projects and all that stuff. But it's totally different frame of mind, that's for sure.
So you were a tinkerer by nature?
Tinkerer? Have we started or no?
Yeah, we've started.
Okay.
we had
I was going to jump into like, is there any no-go areas that you wanted to like not cover?
No, we can do anything you want, man. Any way that can be valuable to your people, we can do it.
Yeah,
perfect.
cool.
Let's just kick in.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
I call Ben a tinkerer because like the studio that we've got in Geelong, the room is always being played with. Like it's just always something like where you just put aircon in the room.
Yeah.
And Ben's like talking to me while we've been up here, just like, I can't wait to get back. I'm going to rearrange the room. It turns full in, like, it's going to be the Joe Rogan room. We're going to have the Jamie seat in the corner. We're going to have, like, he's got a lot of, so I call him a tinkerer.
Yeah, right. Well, my understanding, so we work with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of just high performers. That's why, like, I like what you guys do with, like, specifically speaking to people that are, got that entrepreneur spirit that work within an organization. And understanding the 4 different types of entrepreneurs can really help people as well. Because, so I'll go through them. So the first one is like the ideas entrepreneur. So I think when you're saying the tinkerer, it would probably be the ideas person. I live 5 years in the future. I'm never like here. I'm always thinking on that next big thing. I got 50,000 ideas. As soon as we come up with an idea and then a strategy to do it, I've changed the idea and I've got a new idea to put into it. Like I'm always that sort of person. And typically that's like the visionary. Typically that is the actual person who runs the ship, that has the ideas, that big vision, that's so inspired, they live in the clouds. And then the second person is the lists person, which is usually the integrator, which is typically more the entrepreneur type personality. These are types of people that. So my assistant, he likes to come with some ideas, but it's like he'll just integrate my ideas. So I'll come up with all these different strategies, and I'm like, here's a problem. I don't know how we can solve it, but can I leave that with you? Can you figure it out? He's like, okay, leave it with me. He'll just run away for a few days and try to solve it. Like that's the list person. So he works off a list and he likes to just integrate and get things done. So he's definitely very entrepreneurial in the business, but if he was to be on his own to really wear that risk and that, like, I think that's a different type of personality. So ideas person, list person, then there's the hustler, person that just loves to work hard. They wake up, they get into it, they just grind, they just don't stop, they just get shit done, even if it's crappy work. Like my partner, she's like that. She's the sort of like, she can do the crappy tasks, but just because she's like a steamroller, she'll just get through it. Then there's the talented person. So I run 4 different companies, and one of my other companies, the owner of that business, he's definitely the talent. So it's like a health company. So he's a doctor, and you know, any doctor is not really genealogically gifted with marketing and sales skills. He repels sales, but he's the talent. Like I can't do what he does. I can't read people's blood works and DNA and all this stuff. So he's the talent. He's gifted like that. We put him in the right seat, the right person in the right seat, and you have a good, well-oiled machine. It's so I think that's a great place for people to start, to identify like which one am I mostly like. Am I an ideas person? Then be more in the visionary seat, be more in the creator, be more in the person who loves to just like create a bit of a mess and flow. And you know, if you're a list person, you're the person you'd work better side by side with somebody who like they can get your crazy ideas and they can find a way to actually make it happen. Or if you're the hustler, they're the person just like, get out of my way. I'm going to close deals. I'm going to get things happening. Or the talented person, just put them in the right seat and don't let them do anything else. Like let them flourish. So I'm kind of like talent as well, me on stage. So we're sort of building like my major company to really be like, probably in like 18 months, the goal would be to have it completely under management. So I'm not on the org chart at all anymore. I'm the talent. So like the team should just move me where I need to be. That's going to generate revenue for the company. Like just I'm the talent. I'm not on the org chart at all. That's kind of the goal for that.
Is that Dreamfest you're mentioning there?
That's one of the events that we run. Yes.
Right. What are some of the other events? Because I've seen a lot about Dreamfest. What are some of the other events you're running?
So we do a bunch. So my main company is like, we have an education company. So we'll work with entrepreneurs and high achievers to help them learn the skill set and the mindset to create their dream life. That's the whole main thing. So people typically come to us when they've got massive ideas, massive vision, massive dreams, and they're being blocked by something inside their head. They're doubting themselves, they're procrastinating, or they're self-sabotaging, they're overwhelmed or they're unfulfilled, and they really want to get to that next level, but there's something sort of blocking them. And typically they'll come spend 3 days with us. It's like working with us. It's like coaching with me for a year, but we're doing 3 days, like 40-hour seminar in 3 days. It's fucking intense. But people can come out a completely different person. It's crazy. So that's our main one, the Dream Out Loud method. I'm running a whole book on that and everything right now. And then from there, we support people in other areas as well. So we've got like a financial education company where people do the same thing, 3 days. We help them with their money mindset. And then I run that with my business partner. He's one of the top financial coaches in Australia. So I do all the money mindset stuff. He does all the practical. Here's how to not be broke. Here's how to actually invest properly, how to read business properly, how to manage your finances properly. So we do that event. What else do we do? We have a business mastery program. So people spend 3 days with us to literally master their business. And I like to sort of help people really get a grip on their business in ways that they haven't learned before, because my whole expertise is really like influence and mind control and personal development, like that stuff. Like, so I get that. So when I've really stepped into the business world, I've just taken everything I've understand about human psychology and brought it into business, which is very transferable for sales and marketing, communication and leadership. So we sort of just support people a lot with those things. So they're the main stuff we sort of do. And Dreamfest is just our big annual conference. So this year we'll have about 800 people come in here for 2 days on the Gold Coast with us. And it's just crazy. It's literally that. It's Dreamfest. It's like an entrepreneur festival. We have DJs and shit. It's fucking crazy. We just make it really fun. It's not some boring conference. Like people are out of their seats. They're like, you make friends for life there, and at the same time just grow and get those nuggets you need to take your business and life to the next level. So that's probably why you've seen a lot about that, because we go ham when we promote Dreamfest, which is going to happen soon. Actually, we're going to start promoting.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll have to come up again, because the stuff I've seen of it it does look like that. It looks like a big party.
It is. Yeah. And the third day is actually just a whole party itself. So day 1, day 2 is like all the conference. We have DJs and stuff. It's crazy. Then day 3, we took all our platinums on a yacht last year. And then we rented an entire day club, and we had 150 people come to the after party. The day club was just lit. Super cool.
I think like that stuff's so important. I have a friend that does a smaller version of that in a different industry, specifically with like chiropractors, and he calls it being re-dipped year on year, so you don't lose the love for the profession. And I think this is so powerful for business owners, because you do get stuck in the motions if you don't have that right mindset of just the day-to-day, like you said, the admin days and things that, you might build up a little bit of resentment or just a certain feeling towards what you're doing. And if you don't have an outlet like this to reset yourself all the time, whether it be a major event year on year, or what I've seen you talk about in the past of something that you do that is just shocks your nervous system. Like I think yours is obviously skydiving.
Yeah.
For me, it's scuba diving.
I scuba dive as well.
I love it. So if you don't have some outlet like that to just switch off and disconnect, you can definitely just get stuck in the motions.
Yeah, it's easy to forget why you're doing it all. That's for sure. Like it's easy to just get into the weeds of it and fall into the trap of someday, or when I have this, I'll be happy. When I have this, I remember when I first quit my job when I was 23. I was financially free at 23, and moved to Mexico with my partner at the time. Well, so we first went to America and we lived in LA for like a few months. And I remember us falling into this habit of going, when we leave LA, then we're going to be happy. And then we lived in Miami for a little bit. Then we're like, when we leave Miami, then we're going to be happy. We moved to Mexico. And we go, when we get out of Mexico, we're going to be happy. And then we got to Bali. We lived in Bali. And then I remember going, I remember when we changed villas, then we'll be happy. And I remember catching us one day, just be like, this is fucking bullshit. We've been saying this trap for like the last 12 months. That when we have this, we'll be happy. When we have this, how would it change? Instead of pursuing happiness, what if we just happily pursued the things that we actually wanted? And, it's very easy to fall into the trap of just like, that discipline trap of prolonging the thing we want, because you need that. You need to be able to delay gratification, but it's all about balance. It's like, how can we delay gratification and that momentary success, to be disciplined? And at the same time, how do you actually integrate that into a healthy lifestyle? Because I remember I didn't take a day off for, I think it was nearly 7 years, right? And having said that, I would still travel the world and have a really fun life, but every day I'd still work something, at least a few hours. And I remember I never had a day off because I thought that's what you had to do. And I remember a mentor said to me, I was like, man, I can't break through this income ceiling. And he's like, well, why don't you start taking 2 days off a week? I'm like, I don't think you heard what I just said. I need a fucking 8th day, man, not 2 days off. And he's like, well, you're not getting 8 days. That's impossible. So why don't we try something different? You've been doing the whole 7 days for 7 years. Why don't we try something completely different? Because that's obviously not working. And he said to me first to actually take a week off. And I cheated and I took just 4 days off. And in the 4 days off I actually had, it was because I was like, well, if he said, I got to be a good student. And what I realized is when I switched my phone back on, came back into the real world, we made more money that week in the 4 days I was off. It was my biggest week all year. And I hadn't done anything. And I was like, shit, maybe there's something to this thing. And that was when I really started actually giving myself guilt-free days off. And I started with 2 days. And then I realized 2 days are too much. I like to have 1 full day and like 2 half days. And then my 2 half days are usually like Thursday. Sorry, this is my first thing I've done today. It's 1 o'clock or something. So I take half day Thursday off, half day Wednesday off, and usually they're my skydiving days or my fun days or whatever, right? And that's how I just blended into life. And it's crazy. I think it's Parkinson's law. I could be wrong. We will fill the time. We'll fill the time we have with the work to get done, right? So if we give 7 days to complete a task, we'll take 7 days. But if we give 4.5 days to complete a task, we'll take 4.5 days. So what I realized is I can have so much fun, enjoy my life still, and get a lot of that shit done. And what I realized was this: when I was living in Bali, not actually doing the fun things, I would be working, but I'd be like, oh my God, I just want to be at the beach, or I want to scuba dive, or I want to, and then if I went and did that, I'd feel guilty because I should be working. So when I was working, my mind was having fun. And when I was having fun, I felt guilty because I should be working. So what happened was when I started to actually just split it and had guilt-free time off, I would really enjoy it and I'd be there, be present. And then when I came back to work, I was more hungry because I actually had a break and I was like, oh, I'm not annoyed by us working more. I actually want to work, and I started getting more done, and we've completely scaled a shit ton since that was only 4 years or so ago. I actually made that decision, and we're doing like 18 grand a month or something back then, and I think we had our biggest month ever last November. We did like 930 grand in a month or something like that. Like, and I have a lot more fun now, so you can definitely have it all. That's for sure.
It's so funny because we were literally having this conversation yesterday. Because one, I actually saw a friend of mine put up like a post about how he was like now going to be working an extra day on a Sunday. It was pretty much like he sleeps until 10, but he's going to do like a full day because he's like, the post was all about, I'm going to have an extra day every week that not everyone else is doing. I'm going to get a lot more done, kind of thing. And we were just talking about, I was just like, I agree with you. Like I've done the, 7 days, even if it's just a few hours on a Saturday and Sunday, that you never truly switch off. You just end up burning out because you just never, and that, I think for a lot of creators as well, that's super relatable for like, you go and you do take time off, you go on holiday, even just like go to do something for yourself and your mind's just not present. And you come back more exhausted than you did while you're away because you just got this feeling of guilt the whole time you were doing that thing. And you go back, you're just unproductive. Like you said, Parkinson's law, a half an hour task ends up taking 4 hours because you've come back exhausted.
Yeah. So I think the culture sort of slowed down now, the whole hustle culture. And remember when Gary Vee first came on the scene, and I think he even came out and sort of changed how he was framing it, because a lot of people like, I remember I was in like a little coaching mastermind thing years ago, and there was this teacher who came in. His name was Carl Harvey, and he was like a manifestation sort of guy, and he was talking all about inspired action. He's like, he's like, I've worked like 40 hours with no breaks before, but it was inspired action. He's like, I was so inspired to keep going. He goes, but then I take a whole week off and I drink champagne and I hang out and enjoy life. And he did this whole spiel on how it's like you shouldn't sleep. You should actually sleep and you should actually take care of yourself. And then this kid got on. He's like, man, like, what's your advice to me? I've only slept 1 hour in the last 3 days. And he's like, what should I do? And the guy goes, sleep, bruv. He's the homie guy. He's like, bruv, sleep. And I'm like, do you not fucking listen to a word he just said? Like it's so dumb. And so I really switched my thinking a long time ago to it's not about how much time I have in the day, because I did that as well. I used to sleep 5 or 6 hours a day, and I worked out in my head. I was like, if I sleep 2 hours less than the average person, by the end of the year, I think it was like an extra 2 months a year, I would get in productivity. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking beat everybody. And sure, it worked. It worked pretty good, but it's not sustainable. And then what I realized is, it's not about how much time you actually give. It's like what you actually do in the time you have. And so once I switched that, it's a game changer for me, because I won't do anything before 10 o'clock each day. I take my mornings chill because I enjoy my mornings. And I don't typically do anything after like 6 or 7 at night. I'm usually sort of wrapped up. But that's, of course, sometimes if I'm really just dialed and I'm enjoying it, I'll work longer because I make sure I really enjoy it. But I always make sure it comes from a place of I'm excited to create and move things forward versus, oh, I've got to do it for the time. I'm just aware that's not my head going, work harder. It's my heart going, this is fun, this is exciting, and you're still energized, so use this. Because there's sometimes come 4 o'clock, I'm like, no, I'm done. And then I'm done. I don't really force my way through that, because I just find it's my time spent is not productive. Like, you can get a lot more done with an hour beach walk than trying to work 1 hour when your body's like, I'm done. Like, you can get more done problem solving and shit just an hour walking on the beach.
I do like that from particularly creatives as well. Like, I think when you get into like, if you're grinding really hard on your work, you can see when the work suffers. Like, it's so evident in like the edit of the video, or like if you're trying to rush when you were trying to like capture, a photo or a design, whatever it is. It's so evident in like how that comes out that I think it is, you do have to manage your energy a bit. Like, sometimes it is like, hey, I'm hitting a wall here. I'm
Mm.
going to be way better off going for a walk and coming back in and like feeling refreshed to just put out my best work. Because yeah, like you said, it's all about like the quality of the work, not how much you actually end up working.
Yeah. It's not the time, it's what you do with the time you have.
Mm.
And like you ask anyone in my team or anyone around, I'm a psychopath for the time. Like how I can maximize the time of my days is crazy. But then it makes me feel good when I finish the day as well. Like I get a better night actually thinking like it was productive. Like, I just focus on productive versus busy. That's always the question I'm asking my team as well. Are you busy or productive? There's a huge difference in that. Like, is anyone can just get busy being reactive to crap that just gets thrown at you every day? Or you're being productive, you're actually chipping away at things that are meaningful and important. Yeah.
I suppose even for like, we were talking as well, sort of going from that stage of like freelancer, you're only managing yourself, to managing other people as well. Like there's like that initially, particularly when you're learning to like sort of lead other people, you can go through wanting to maximize other people's time as well. You sort of do make other people, initially anyway, this is just what we found. Some people might be better managers right from the start than we were, but like you try to maximize their hours rather than like, hey, I'm way more interested in like you getting this outcome done than just filling 8 hours for the sake of filling 8 hours in the day. I suppose like, do you see that a lot with like some of the business owners you work with, like getting started, going from working on their own to like starting to build a team?
I mean, there's like a million things wrong that most people do when they go from working for themselves to then hiring a team. Starting with, they have the vision. Like you've got the vision in your head, you know exactly what you're trying to create, where you're going. And a lot of entrepreneurs struggle to actually explain that to their team. So then they hire someone and they think that they're going to be like them. They think like, well, you should work, you should be hungry. Like, why are you not just doing that? Why would you not just, because they don't have a vision. Like imagine you actually just rocking up and starting on a job, having no idea what the end goal actually looks like. Or maybe you know what the end project looks like, but you know in your head that project will be finished in 3 days. You're like, well, then what? Like typically big thinkers, the people you'd want to work with anyway, they're thinking a lot further than what am I doing just this week? They need to have the big picture, then chunk down, okay, what's their plan so they can really just hit go. I was seeing that actually before we started recording. I'm like, everyone in that we hire, I really focus on, because my weakness is management, but my strength is leadership. So I would rather develop a leader than manage a person. So I don't really manage my team because high performers don't want to be managed. They don't need you to check in and be like, what did you get done? They like to be left alone because for them, it eats them alive to bludge. It eats them alive to not do much. Like, so a lot of my team, I know that when they go home at night, they're probably like thinking about the business and they're thinking about doing things because that's just their personality traits, why we put them in that position. But then I also give them responsibilities where it's like, this is your responsibility to get this done. So if it's not going to get done, it's going to come on you. Like, well, what happened here? And these types of people, they would rather like die than to let the team down or to not actually give it their best. So it really comes down to, you got to have that vision, but it's got to be explained to the team. It's got to be explained and transferred where they know exactly what's the 1 year vision, what's the 10-year vision of the company, what's the 1 year, but then what are we working on this quarter? What are the major things we're working on this quarter? And then I always break it down so they know exactly what are the actual tangible tasks, projects they're responsible for completing this quarter. And we typically get like 3 to 5 things, no more than that. What are the 3 to 5 things you're responsible for completing this quarter? And then every single day just comes down to, okay, what are you doing today? And it should be affecting one of those things, one of those rocks. And that's how you can always determine being busy or productive, because busy is just handling the shit that comes at you. Productive is something that's going to chip away at one of those rocks. So you're either chipping away at a rock or you're just wasting time. And so I will try to get those things, and then as long as then because I don't like to manage, I don't really like team and work with a team. I like to just do my own thing. So, but I make sure that we've all got something we're working on, and then we do our thing. And then it just comes down to, it becomes very self-evident. Usually if someone's not up for that task, they'll self-deselect and they'll be like, I need management. I had somebody I fired her, but she definitely did something that would make me want to fire her. But I think she did it because she was like, I'm not happy yet. And it was because she really wanted me to like, not micromanage her, but she wanted me to like performance manage her and stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not your daycare teacher. Right? I'm like, I'm not, and I suck at it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I leverage the fact my weakness is management. So I'm not giving you morning meetings, afternoon meetings. I'm not asking for an end of day report. I'm not, fuck that. If you can't be a grown up and actually go and work on the things that you're here to do, then go somewhere else. So she came from working, she had like 1,000 staff where she was working, 1,000 employees. Then she came work for me and there was like 3 of us. So she was used to this big corporations, systems, playbooks, HR and all this crap. I'm like, that didn't happen. I'm like, who's HR? Me. You're looking at him.
How did you make that change then in the early days of when you were, building things out, and you obviously recognized did you recognize your weakness in management? Like, how did you push past going, like, I just naturally don't like this way of doing things, but there is a necessary evil in needing that to progress forward. So how did you push past that?
I'm doing it now, to be honest. It's a decision. It's like, it's in business, there's gonna be things that you got to do that you don't like. And it literally is. I remember I sort of not complained about it, but said, I was like, oh, I can't manage for at least 6 to 8 months. I remember it was last year. And then one day, like anything, I'll answer the question with a story, because there's two things that drive all human behavior. The first one is gaining pleasure. The second one is avoiding pain. But typically, when it's painful enough, we tend to get motivated. But if we sit in this little land of, because I know that if my business was really well managed, it'd probably grow, right? That's pleasure. But the pain I have to go through to do that, I'm like, that sucks. So I'm avoiding it, okay? So there was a story of, this little boy walking down the road, and he hears this weird noise in the distance. It's like a dog howling. He's like, what is this noise? And he walks closer, and it comes again. It's louder and louder and louder. And he goes to this old man's house. He goes up to the old man. He's like, what's this noise that's coming from your house? And the old man's like, well, let me show you. And they walk out the back of his house. In the corner of his yard, there's this dog sitting there going like, rah, 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 rah. And he goes, what's wrong with your dog? He goes, well, he's sitting on a nail. And he goes, well, why does he get off the nail? And the old man says, well, because it doesn't hurt enough for him yet. And that is why everybody that isn't happy with where they are right now is they stay where they are, because it sucks and it hurts. And I like to explain like a 7 out of 10. So if anything that sucks 7 out of 10, like 10's like amazing, and 1's the worst, like super painful. When we're at like a 7, it sucks, but it doesn't suck enough to do anything about it yet. So typically most people tolerate a 7 out of 10 life across the board. They're not happy with their job, not happy with their relationship, but it's a 7, so it's okay. It sucks, but it doesn't suck enough for me to go through the process of making it better. But as soon as it becomes a 6 or a 5, they're like, oh shit, okay. And that's exactly what happened to me last year. So I was complaining about it for like 6 or 8 months. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to manage. Like, I don't even want to get in Slack. I don't want to use Asana. Still don't really use Asana. I don't really want to do these things. And, then eventually there was just too many problems that kept happening where I just cracked the shits one day. I'm like, that's fucking it. And I sat down for like 3 hours and I created SOPs and systems and playbooks and management styles and all this shit. And thank God for ChatGPT, definitely helps. And then the next day we went to every single one of my employees and we sat down, like, here's literally your guidebook. Here's exactly how you succeed at your role. I want you to go through it, and I'm going to do Q&A with you after. I'm going to quiz you on it. Here's one for you, here's one for you, here's one for you. And we go through, and then I drew out the whole org chart. Here's what you do, here's your responsibilities. And if it's not complete, like, I'm fucking cracking out, because it pissed me off enough, right, where it was more painful to keep going than it was for me to sit down and create these shitty systems that I had to do. And then you know what? Now I like it.
Yep.
So whenever there's a problem, I'm like, oh, there's a problem. Oh, I need to go solve it. And I'll just go start creating a document. And I'm like, oh, what? And I'm just reteaching. It's sort of like the annoying thing, but it's through the growth of growing a company. But you know what I'm doing now? I'm creating a whole system and playbook on how to do what I'm doing.
Mm.
So I'm literally creating the role of how to be a project manager, a fucking people manager. And we'll probably look at hiring somebody like that towards the end of this year and put somebody in that position, which will allow me to go just be the talent and the CEO. But that's just the continual cycle of that. There's 3 levels in business. A level 1 person is a technician, the person like who actually does the videoing. They have to do the video and they have to do the graphic design. That's a level 1. Level 2 is the manager. Level 2 is the person who actually manages the team, because they're not really creating it, they're managing the performance, they're keeping the deadlines, we're getting this job done. And the third person is the entrepreneur. They're the business owner. They're the ones that have the group of managers underneath them, and they manage the technicians, and the entrepreneur sits and they create. That's where every entrepreneur wants to get to, but they typically end up in level 2, and they're managing, and they build a business that they hate because they're managing the staff. And most entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the level 1, the idea people, they're not typically managers, right? If you look at like Richard Branson, he's not that sort of person at all. But he's one of the best entrepreneurs that's probably ever lived. But he's always really prided himself on finding people smarter and better than him and putting them in the roles and then fostering. And that's the difference of being a leader and a manager, I think. Someone who can really foster growth and influence someone to want to grow and manage and perform and be their best self. That's a leader. And a manager is someone who can sort of keep people, like hold them to a standard. And that's not really my strong suit.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting you say that, because for us at the minute, that's sort of where I'm going through in my journey. Like we've had a small team 18 months ago that was, was much bigger, and we made cuts because it was just a fun experiment at that time. And then we became just a 3-man team, and now we've grown to nearly a 12 to 15-man team in the last sort of 18 months. And for me, I'm naturally someone who likes to build the thing and then be there to just let's make sure it gets done right, and we can adapt it and change it however you need throughout the whole process. But it's at a point where there's so many irons in the fire, I suppose you could say, in so many different spots that you can't be that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, things have to be chunked together. Here's what's really helped me as well. Just like big picture, looking at the company and making sure everybody's in some sort of role. The problem so let me give you some examples and tell me if you're experiencing this or not. But one of the biggest problems, so if you first look at the org chart, okay, like someone's going to be the visionary, like the CEO call it. Someone's going to be that person. Then there's going to be someone who's like an integrator, the personality who can take the crazy ideas and actually follow it through. This is usually like an operations person, executive assistant, maybe a general manager, somebody like that who can just, they're more better at managing tasks. They're not, I like to refer, the visionaries look for the front windshield, managers look for the rear vision mirror. They're like, okay, well, you're going, I'm going to turn around and make sure people are seatbelts on, you're right, that person. But I'm not ever fucking doing it. I'm like, get in the fucking car. I'm going to assume don't be a dickhead, put your seatbelt on, right? But managers need to make sure, have you put your seatbelt on? That's the manager style. So you got a visionary, then you got someone who can sort of integrate these ideas. And then I just like to break down into really 3 super simple departments. Marketing and sales. These people are in charge of getting leads, getting attention, converting them, and actually generating revenue. Someone's got to be in that seat. Then there's the operations. Someone's got to take care of, okay, when we market and sell someone on something, who's going to deliver the actual product or service that we're giving? Then the last department is just admin finance. Who's keeping track of invoicing, where we're at? Are we on track? Can we okay? Can send just that crappy emails, those sorts of things, logistics, HR, if you want to have HR. And then someone has to be in one of these seats. So with 12 people, you have I'd probably imagine you got majority of them in operations. If you guys are creative, right? You have editors and all this stuff, right? But where the problems can become is people crossing over departments, right? Which is okay, because in my team, I have a rule where it's like, if anyone ever says, here's where I know I need to fire somebody. When someone says, that's not my job description, I say, cool, get out. Because we're about growing the company. So the idea is, if you see something that should be done and no one's doing it, take the initiative and just do it. Because that's going to make this an awesome company, right? And eventually, one day, maybe everyone's got their exact thing and it's all perfect. But, especially in a startup, which ran from like 0 to probably 5-6 mil a year, about 8 mils, like still startup phase, really. You really gotta have people around that are like that have initiative, that are proactive. Like if there's, I'll give you an example. Do you know Andy Elliott?
Yep.
Right, sales guy. So I was just with him and his team, and in America, and I was talking to them actually about. I'm like, what's one of the things you guys do to really instill like a good culture? And they're like holding people to a high standard of just how things get done. And he goes, the other day, one of the senior leader sales guy went to the bathroom and he didn't he washed his hands and he left water everywhere. So then Ian walks through and he went and saw it and he went and grabbed it. He's like, yo, come down here. He's like, the fuck is this? You know, it's like, and it violated one of their company values. He's like, clean up after yourself. He's like, you're not in trouble. Just, that's not how we do it. So clean up. Just that little thing. It's like, instead of going, oh, well, the cleaner will clean that. No. Just take care of your own mess. Everyone else takes care of their own mess. And if there's something out of line and you see it and you can do it, just do it. And so that's how we do it. So we all wear different hats, but we all have major responsibilities that we're responsible for. But like, if someone's going to see something and go, oh, I did see that, but I didn't choose to do anything about it. It's like, that's a problem. That's the signs of someone who's already checked out, not wanting to be there anymore. But you know, and I'm not asking someone to, like, if I'm not going to get my bookkeeper to close a sale, but if my bookkeeper is talking to someone who's interested in the business, I would expect them at least to try, be like, hey, I can try to help you. Let's try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect you to go do cold calls. Of course, a completely different. I'm not expecting my salespeople to do bookkeeping. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if there's an opportunity that can be seized, then fostering the community that they should take that, you know. But where the problem can happen is not crossing departments, but more than one person in charge of the same thing. Because if two people are responsible, then no one's responsible. Because that was the problem that I went through. So I don't know if you're like that or not, but we see a lot of people going like, who did this? And I'll even catch myself sometimes. I go, hey, can someone do this? And I'm like, in my head, I go, who? I'm like, it can't just be someone. It's going to be, can you handle this? Because otherwise, if someone can do this, oh, I thought you did it. Weren't you doing it? No. And then nothing gets fucking done. And I'm like, I fucking asked someone to do it. Yeah, someone. That's no one's job. No one's name is someone. So it comes down to my communication.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, as well, like you mentioned your trip to America recently. How pivotable? Like personally, I haven't been over yet. I'd love to go over because I do think people over there just, for whatever reason, feel very passionate and much more driven, and obviously, large
more hustle.
Yeah, much more. So how did that shape you? Obviously, I saw your story coming back. You've set your plan for quite a substantial growth. How and why did that just push you?
Every time I go to America, it takes me to a new level. Because there is a lot of hustle there. If you think back, we have the same land mass size as America. Get rid of Alaska, we're the same size country. But we have 25, 26 million people in our entire country. In California alone, they have nearly double that. They have like 43, 44 million people in California. So their population is about 350, 360 million people. It's humongous. So you think about the competition. Like, we have it easy here. This is why people just chill. We live in a market here where it's an employee's world. It's an employee's world. They can walk around and be like, oh, no, they can just quit. And like any business owner, you guys would know that it's like, the whole story is, I talk to any entrepreneur that their biggest problem is staff. In America, they ain't like that. Biggest problem is you're fearful to lose your job because how hard it is to get another job. So because it's just they've got that over there. So over there, their mentality is just completely different. They're hustlers. They've got to work harder than what the average Aussie does. It's very normal if you talk to a standard just American person, an employee, they have more than one job, usually 2, sometimes 3 jobs. It's very normal. Over here, it's unheard of. Like, people just don't do that. So the stakes are high over there. So people are just on a completely different level. So every time I get over there and I talk with anyone I meet, it always just reminds me how I'm thinking small. Because, goldfish will grow to the size of the bowl that it's in. And I think that's like it is here in Australia. Like the richest person in Australia, I think it's Gina Reinhardt, isn't it? She's worth a few $1 billion. Fantastic. But then you got Elon Musk. Like, look at the difference. He's worth nearly like $500 billion. Big difference. So, I just think any person with big ideas have to get themselves into America or Europe every single year. And one of my friends, Ty Lopez, he actually said it to us a couple of years ago. He's like, because I was asking him, like, what can I do to sort of keep growing? And he's like, you got to make sure you're in America. He's like, you got to travel more. And I was like, what the fuck's that got to do with my business? And he's like, travel more. He's like, you get more ideas. And sure enough, it literally is. Every time I go to a new country, get around a new event or new people, I just see, I get ideas, I get inspired differently. I change my perspective. It happens every time. But, what sort of got me to really flip my perspective was, I landed in America. I spent a week in Scottsdale. Scottsdale is one of the nicest places. I love it. So if anyone's ever been there, they would know it's just super nice, but super wealthy as well. You got some very wealthy people living there. So I spent some time with Jeremy Miner. A lot of the people I hung out with while I was over there are just killing it. So Jeremy Miner is he's probably the number one sales trainer in probably the world. He's amazing. They're crushing it. Then I went and spent like half a day with Dean Graziosi. This was one of the things that actually got me a shift. I'm chatting with Dean in his office now. Dean's like one of the goats. You know, he's Tony Robbins' business partner, one of his best friends. And, you know, Dean's worth, I heard, he didn't tell me this, but I heard, so I could be wrong, around $400 million. So, like, he's a bit of a G. He's got his own private jet and everything. And we'll talk. I'm not going to say the exact numbers because I don't know if it was confidential or not. But I was talking with his team, and they're like, you know, we did like X, you know, tens of millions, or sorry, hundreds of millions in the last 7 years in this one company. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's incredible. And Dean comes in. I was like, congrats on that. He's like, we didn't do that. And he goes, we actually did more like this, which is 2.5 times the number he said. I was like, holy fuck. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, we got like 100 something staff out there. And I was like, that's so much bigger. And he goes, like, is this your main thing? He's like, no, there's like a side one. I'm like, right. And just like, these guys are just playing at a such bigger level. And then we spent 2 days with Ty Lopez. And who else was it? Oh, one of my friends, actually, I remember this. I was with one of my friends, Mark Sell, in LA. He's 26 years old, and he does stuff that's very similar to me. And we hop into his brand new Ferrari. It's like a $600,000 Ferrari. And I'm like, this is pretty wild car. I'm like, why'd you get this? And he's like, well, I charge people $1 million a year to work with me one-on-one. I do one call a month with them. And sometimes if you charge $1 million to work with you, you got to look the part as well. I'm like, it's fucking true. And I just went home that day and I was like, why am I aiming so low? This guy's charging like $90,000 for a one-on-one call with him for an hour. I'm like, the stuff he's doing with people on a call, it's very in my repertoire. I could probably do the exact same stuff. And I'm like, I'm playing small. One of his clients is Jake Paul, the CEO of Tinder, all this stuff. And every time I just talk with these people, Ty Lopez put out $1 million offer. He's like, I've got an offer for $1 million if you want to work with me. And I was like, the audacity. It's just crazy, right? And then I'm just thinking, I'm like, what's my highest offer? Like $30K. I just pitched someone we're taking some $100K offers at the moment, like, because I'm opening up like one-on-one mentoring now. But even that, I'm like, $100K seems nothing for what I can actually deliver with somebody in that time as well. So, that's just the thing. It's like, if I'm talking to my friends back here, what I think I'm doing is good. That everything's good, but what are you comparing it with? Like, if you were to look to a homeless person and you say, are you rich compared to a homeless person? Yeah. Right? Most people are. But, okay, like, let's take me, for example. Compare me to someone with a job. Am I rich? Yeah. But compare me to Elon Musk. Am I rich? No, I'm poor as. Right? So I just like to challenge myself and go, what am I actually comparing myself to in a good way? Like, what is the comparison? Because that's going to change the perspective of what I'm capable of. So I just did what I did every single time I go to a new level. And because I know our goal was to do 40 million revenue in the next 10 years. That's our company goal. And I just asked myself the question, I'm like, can we do 100 million rev? Not cumulative in 1 year, within 10 years. And I'm like, yeah. So good. Okay. If I was going to do that, how would I do it? And I go into a calculator. I'm like, that's only getting 100,000 people to pay me $1,000 a year. But that's fucking nothing. I'm like, good. So I told the team, we're doing 100 mil. And they're like, oh. I said, no, we're doing it easy. I think what will happen we'll probably hit it by year 7, and then we'll change it to 150 mil. Just go bigger. So especially if we tap into the American market, that's even easier. To go like 100 million Australian, that's only like 62 million US. It's even easier. I mean, 62,000 people to pay $1,000 a year. That's not much. It's very doable.
It's very, interesting as well when you like shift your thinking to a bigger goal like that as well. I think what's the book, like 10x is better than 2x. That whole principle of like, you're going to 2x is pretty much just grinding and trying to do it exactly the same way you've done it, but more of it. 10x, shift your thinking. You have to figure out like a different way of doing it. I think like, and even this topic, I know for a lot of like people that would be listening to us in our audience, particularly in the creative industry, pricing is such a tough thing for them because it's like, and we've both gone through it in the past as well. You probably did maybe in your first year as well. Like, particularly here in Australia, you sort of have this attachment to like, oh, if I charge this, like, I'm not sure if I'm worth, charging that, right? Like that pricing being so attached to self-worth and how you see yourself and the value you can bring. I think that's where like, Dreamfest and other, like, bringing people together in community, being around other people that are doing more than you can help like shift that perspective and push you to sort of go, let me challenge that. Let me try to push that out, because, the amount of creatives that are just charging like, $50 an hour for filming and photos, and it's crazy how much people undercharge just because they physically feel ick, trying to increase their prices and think like that, right?
Yeah, so self-worth is the bedrock of all success. Like, if I could only write like one book for the rest of my life, if I was like leave something on Earth and be put into a spaceship and go to Mars, it'd be a book on how to increase self-worth. Because if our self-worth will determine our level of, essentially what it is our level of comfortability of receiving anything. You're receiving love, appreciation, respect, money. So that's why at our Mind and Money program, we'll actually talk a bit about self-worth, and we put people through activities to challenge that. And it's uncomfortable for some people, but that's why they come, because they're like, oh, it's really hard for me to ask somebody to do that for me. I'm like, well, if you can't ask someone to give you $100, then you're never going to ask someone to pay you $10,000 for your services. And this is the same thing I work, really helping people sort of break that 0 to about 20K a month bracket. It's all self-worth. It's all self-worth. And then every single new level is going to be that again. Same thing, just to go like, oh, can I charge that? And I went through the same thing. I remember when I first started in like coaching space, one of the first things I started selling actually was a podcast course, because we grew a pretty good podcast. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to teach them how to do this. And then someone asked me for one-on-one coaching with it. And they go, how much is that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And no shit, I charged $2,000 for like 8 weeks of coaching or something. And I thought that was good. And then my coach at the time, she's like, that's bullshit. You're now 5K minimum. And I'm like, how could I do that? And I remember I just went home and I just played with the ideas. Like, I held the tension inside. Okay. On my next sales call, I know that on average, I close about 50%, right? So on average, this person, they might not even buy. So why don't I practice on this call? Say my price is 5K. Let's just see what happens. Worst thing, she's not going to close. And, I can deal with that. So I'm like, okay, let's just try it. So I sort of took myself out of it emotionally. I was like, objectively, I was like, let's just trial it. And sure enough, she's like, so how much is it for a one-on-one? I said, 5K. And she lived overseas. And I said, USD, obviously. Right. And actually it went like this. I was like, 5K. And she goes, okay, yeah. I said, USD. And she's like, yeah, well, obviously. She went, obviously. I said, and then you know what happened? She never even took me up on the program. She paid it, never came to anything. And I actually chased her for like 2 years. I was like, do you want to start your coaching yet? Do you want to start yet? And she's like, not yet. I said, well, I'm here. Right. And it just never actually happened. And I realized that charging higher prices, I would not only attract better quality people, but I would attract faster payers. And it was a lot easier. Like, I don't know if you've realized it as well. Like, if you use like that, I've seen like a meme online where it's like, the $99 client, well, I need a guarantee. What if it's not going to work for me? What's your terms? When can we start? Can I bring a friend? All these like, what if this? $50,000 client, money sent. Thanks. Let me know next step. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, that's so true.
It's so true. And like for us in our industry, every creative goes through it, goes, oh, I can't work with that big client yet because like I just don't have the experience. I can't charge that yet. And naturally, it just breeds that you go work for the small business owner and, they are very much that sort of client. But it's, like you said, the only thing stopping you is your self-worth to go, no, I'm going to go work for X company and charge them the premium. And I'm just going to have that client. I'm going to do it really well and focus in on that, then go and have 10 small clients.
Yeah.
It's funny too with the relationship with like the delivery that creatives give as well, because like so much of the value is subjective. So like that person that's like that client that's got like that scarcity mindset, like they struggle to hand over $99, will like meticulously look at that that video or what's been done and like potentially not even see the true value of it. Exactly the same product given to someone that pays more for it will see more value out of it and like see it for what it really is as well. So like it's interesting, even on the client side, they see more value and get more value. I suppose for your stuff as well, the higher you charge, the more buy-in you get from people as well, rather than just having a bunch of people rock up. Well, maybe not even rock up to a call. They just pay. It's like, oh, I'm not going to actually implement anything. It's just, I only paid that amount, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You pay for the buy-in, right?
Yeah. And I think we could talk about this all day, but the amount of examples I have, like just the better clients are the ones who pay. But then it just begs the question, are they better clients because they pay more, or can they afford to pay more because of the way that they actually already are? And I think it's the latter, because like success comes, it's an energetic game. It's vibrational. Like if you're living in this world of scarcity and you're scared to spend $99, then you're not going to attract abundance to you either. You're not going to attract someone else to invest in you. So it's the growth journey of, because I've been in that. When I was poor, it was hard to spend money. But then I remember a mentor said to me once, he's like, do rich people tip because they're rich, or are they rich because they tip? Right? I'm like, well, that's a good one. I'm like, does the sheer letting go of money and donating and tipping to somebody put out to the universe that you're okay receiving it back as well? You know what I mean? Or does somebody wait until they're really, really rich and then they decide to tip? It doesn't happen like that. Because if you can't give $1 out of, $10, you're not going to give $1 million out of, $100 million. So it's sort of like building these little habits along the way. But I've always just made sure that I'm the sort of buyer that I want to sell. So I'll always make sure that, like, I don't think I've closed anyone on anything bigger than I've ever invested in myself. And we'll just like ClickFunnels, and Russell Brunson sold on stage $1 million offer, and then he brought out Myron Golden. I don't know if you know Myron Golden.
Yep.
And he comes out on stage. He's like, I want to bring out the first person who actually bought this $1 million offer. And Myron came out and he literally said that. He goes, I was the first person to buy his $1 million offer because I'm that kind of person. He's like, so when I sell $1 million offers, it's very congruent in me because I buy $1 million offers. I'm like, it's very true. Like, if I also put out $1 million offer right now, I'd feel like strange. I'd feel like an imposter because I've never given someone $1 million for services yet. There'll be a day, right? But I've invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's why when it's like still the stuff I sell feels like it's nothing. It's like for the value thing, it's absolutely nothing. And I genuinely believe that because I know what is possible. Like we've got people in our mastermind. So our mastermind is our highest ticket. It's like $30K. And we've had people in that, literally, they joined last year in April, I think it was. They had no business, right? So they just started their business, actually. They hadn't made a single dollar yet. And by the end of last year, they did over $500,000 in sales, right? So they did $500,000 in sales in their first 7 months or something in business. And they've been some of the best clients because when they joined, they were all in. But then they go, just tell me what I need to do and I'm going to do it. I say, do this and this and this. And they do it and it works. So there's several clients that have come and worked with us that have absolutely crushed it. And they're always the highest paid ones. They're usually the ones who are less painful. Like, yep, here's money, cash, because they just move faster. So it's like a reciprocal thing. So I would say for anyone listening to this, if they're struggling charging for their own worth, they've got to go spend money. Like they've actually got to focus on spending money and not be so scared around it. Like just go give something to charity, give something to charity, or go buy the program that you've been putting off. Go invest that coach or do something. And what they'll realize is hungry dogs run faster. Most people sit with this, I call it a financial thermostat, where it's like the thermostat in a room. If we open the door and it'll get really hot in here, but then the aircon will kick into gear and it'll make it colder again. But most people do that with their business and their finances. They have this amount of money in their bank, and as soon as they make more than that, it feels weird. So they sabotage and they spend money and they bring it back down. But as soon as they have less in it, they feel really scared. And they hustle and they make money again. But typically, most people hover around whatever that dollar amount is. And what I like to work people on is increasing that dollar amount. I remember one time I said to my mentor, I'm like, I'm just not that motivated anymore. He's like, why? And I'm like, well, I've got enough money in the bank. He's like, well, how much you got? I said, about 10 grand. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, why? I don't really need any more than this. This is like a while ago, right? And he goes, see, the problem is you think 10K is a lot of money. I'm like, well, my lifestyle expenses are so small. Like I'm just chilling. I was living in Bali. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you think that's a lot of money? He's like, next time we talk, I want that to be $100,000. He goes, I think 100K is not a lot of money. I said, oh, okay. And then literally I just flipped that in my head. I was like, okay. And just started cranking. I'm like, I can make sure. Now it's like if there's less than 100K, it just sits liquid. I don't want to think about it. It's frightening. Then we just keep like leveling that up. And I'm like, I got to make sure there's like a million there. Right? It's like, and it just sort of becomes this game where you're less attached to it and you use it as more of a resource. It's like an energetic resource versus this scarce commodity that sits in our bank. But yeah.
No, I can definitely resonate with that. And off the back of sort of what you're saying before, just to add to it, I do think that when you think much larger, it's funny that we talk about this today as I was reading Dan Martell's chapter on this, is, you don't think, how can I, as a racer, how can I go and add a few seconds to the track? It's, how do I, redo the entire engine, re-engineer everything because your goal is to double your speed. It's double your race time. So I do think, dream bigger. You start to just rethink how you shape entirely.
Yeah.
Have you got any exciting things coming up that you'd like to, let anyone know about or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know when this gets launched, but Dreamfest is probably the biggest thing. We're going to start, I was talking to my team yesterday about it. I'm like, in a few weeks, we're going to start just as all people are going to see. So that's going to happen in August 29 and 30. When we start recording, I'll tell you who's actually speaking at it, because we haven't announced it yet. But it's going to be amazing. It's going to be biggest one we've ever done. So August 29 and 30, that's going to be Dreamfest. I'd highly recommend them come check that out. We pretty much give tickets away for that. It's stupid cheap. They're like usually under $100 for 2 days. It's stupid. That, and one of the things that we're actually about to add into our business is because I've become really good at business, but people only know about it when they come and work with us in our mastermind. So what we're actually wanting to do is we're going to kick off. So one of the things I've sort of birthed from being in America is we're going to kick off it's probably going to be free actually, like a 5-day business challenge. So I don't know when it's going to kick off, but if people follow us on social media and stuff, they'll see when it's live. And I just want to create this gangster like 5-day sort of business challenge where anyone takes them from anywhere they are to just skyrocket their business revenue, even from zero, not even an idea yet, to actually getting an idea and getting their first clients, or they're making the first 10K a month. How do you get that to 100K a month and beyond? We want to be able to just create the most kick-ass business challenge that we've got here. So that's probably the biggest things for us. Apart from that, I'm just following the plan, doing the thing. We're building a studio around the corner.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I've seen some things around that. Yeah. How's that coming along?
It's coming along. It's a freaking slog. Every time I look at it, it costs another $5,000 for something somewhere. So that was definitely a big move we made. But that's like a 400 square meter warehouse. We run our events in there. I'm building a virtual studio in there. We have a big LED wall coming in. We're building a podcast studio in there as well. Super cool. Just around the corner from here. So that's a big exciting thing. We're relaunching our podcast in a few weeks at the end of March. Do you know Andrew Bustamante? He's the ex-CIA spy.
Oh, yeah.
Big curly hair.
Yep.
So he's coming over here to Australia. We're doing a collab event together. And then I'm going to relaunch my podcast, doing a live audience podcast with him at the studio. So they're the exciting things we're doing. So hopefully we can get like 100 people there just to sit and watch it live. Never done that before. So yeah.
That's exciting. And for people that don't know, like what are your tags? Where can they find you?
Yeah. Instagram is my best one. Go at Morgan T. Nelson. Find me there. Everything we do is on there. Any event we run, free events. We haven't come to Melbourne in a while. It might be on the cards for the end of the year. We're doing Sydney. So maybe I'll look at coming to Melbourne as well. Morgan T. Nelson there. Same on YouTube. Just find me Morgan Nelson there. They're the two best spots. And if they really want to, we have like a free, I have a life by design planner that I created ages ago. My team got me to make it because they're like, how do you get so much done every single day and like do all this stuff and still skydive and still go on jet skis and travel and like all this fun stuff? And I'm like, well, I just follow my bare method, my bare ass minimum. I had this method. So they made me turn it into a planner so we can give it to people. And then we built it into this planner, we put it onto Amazon.com and we wanted to like sell it. And then we just had so much fucking problems with like, it's just such a nightmare. I don't know if you ever lodged anything like it's just a nightmare. So it's stupid. So I was like, the only way we could get actually like put on as a book to buy on Amazon is through Amazon UK. So it's just weird. So I was like, I'm not gonna fucking send someone. So anyway, so we just give it away for free. So people can get that. They can, we can get you the link, or they can even DM me on Instagram, just planner, and we send them the planner for free. It's really good. So if people follow it, they'll be more productive, get a lot more done, a lot more time to have fun, enjoy their life as well. So people have been loving that. So yeah, they can do that.
No, I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
For someone who, as much like I don't count every minute of the day, but I do try and be as efficient as I can be. So I will definitely be messaging your planner to grab that one.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's cool, and we're even trying to. I want to create like a mini course that goes with it for free as well, because I've had some people go like, "How do you use this?" Like, I think it's quite self-explanatory, but I'm like, what if I can create like a little mini course to go with it? So we're in talks with the team on how to just put that together, where we're gonna host it and shit. So it might come as like a little bundle for free.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I think like for creatives, like a lot of people who can go out there and like look at technically how to run a business and be told, maybe even by a business coach if they do hire a business coach, like what they should be doing. But there's a reason that a lot of people don't make it in business, because they might know what they're meant to do, but they just never get around to doing it, right? Like they never increase their prices. They don't do the outreach and like do the marketing and sales stuff and put themselves out there like they should do. So I really respect what you do in terms of like particularly like the 3-day workshops. I think like something that's actually a transformational experience rather than just a drawn out process where someone can kind of like drag their feet for a long period of time. I really like that way of doing it. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me and coming all the way up here. Oh my God. It's great.
That was also good excuse to come up to the Gold Coast.
I love it. Yeah, thanks for having me on, boys.
Appreciate it.